I want to have a look at a new tool, the Versus tool at bookiebashing.net, found just now under football, but we're actually going to expand it to some more sports soon, so you might see it under NFL and 180s. What does the Versus tool do? It takes two teams or players that have an expectancy in the databases in bookiebashing.net, and it pitches them against each other, and it says, what's the probability, what are the odds of one of these teams getting the most goals or assists or shots or whatever the stat is that we're looking at. And not just two teams, but however many teams you want to have a look at. Why would we want this? Well, let's have a look at a market over at Betfred. In football, you can go to specials. At the bottom, there's Weekend Premier League Hot Shots, and that's the highest scoring match in the Premiership, Man City versus Brentford, 5-1. The match I'm going to see tomorrow, Wolves Newcastle 15-2, Crystal Palace Leicester 12-1. Highest scoring team, Man City 7-2. All the way at the bottom, you got Nottingham Forest 250-1. So how can we work this out? Well, in Bookie Bashing, we've got an expected number of goals for each of these matches. So we pitch them together using a particular probability distribution, and we can work out the most. Using this Versus tool, the stat I'm going to look at is goals. I could look at cards, corners, shots on target, throw-ins. Very soon, tries, touchdowns, 180s to be added to this tool, but just for now it's football. So it's goals I'm looking at, and I'm going to look at the Premier League. Now when I load the Premier League, I've got 20 games here, 2 weekends worth. Don't want that, just want this weekend. So I'm going to deselect them all, and I'm going to have today's 8 games and tomorrow's 2 games. There we go. Here's all of the expectancies. Man City versus Brentford, 3.67 goals, which is the most, which is why they are favourites. And over here on the right-hand side, I see my table of probabilities. Now, one thing has to be noted. What are the draws doing in your market? You've got 3 options. They could either be a push, a loss, or a split. Let's talk about those 3 now, because you need to know what the draws are settled as. And if you don't know or you're unsure, please ask support and we will tell you. Okay? The 3 options, push, loss, or split. So let's take 2 teams. Let's take Southampton and Man United. We've got expected goals for both. If we were to settle the market as a loss, what that means is the draw is a separate outcome. For example, the match odds market. That's what the match odds market is. The draw is a loss, okay? But we could also settle it with a draw as a push. And if we settle it with a draw as a push, that's draw no bet. Okay? Or Asian handicap plus 0.0. Right? Or we could settle it as the draw as a split, which happens in markets such as a darts player to have the most 180s in a session, or Betfred's Hot Shots coupon, where actually they pay out on the team that scores first if 2 teams are tied or matches are tied. But that is the equivalent mathematics of a dead heat payout, right? So that's draws a split as the dead heat payout. So I'm going to switch over to that because that's what I'm looking at here. And I see that the fair odds for Man City versus Brentford are 6.66. So it was 5-1 on the coupon. There's no value there. What about Newcastle Wolves? 15-2 is just not enough. That's not enough of a value bet. Okay, the odds are 15-2, 8.5, which means that the EV is, I've missed the 8 out, is 78.81. Now, here's the thing. I could track this up in my private tracker because Newcastle's expectancy or Wolves Newcastle's expectancy changes over time. So I can send that to my private tracker. And now I'm tracking that in private. I could easily send all 10 games. Or I could copy to CSV and then paste. This is now on my clipboard and I can paste it into Excel. If I wanted to come back to this, I mean, it's not that difficult to set up, but I could save the coupon there, and there I could come back to this page, and there's my saved coupon. In fact, I had one earlier, so this would be saved too. What if I wanted to look at the team, not the match? Well, I would just switch over from match to home. That's all of the home teams, and this is the odds of the home team to get the most number of goals out of all of the home teams, but I want away as well, so I'll just select both home and away. And there it is. There's my 20 teams. Newcastle are 20.25, so their 17 is not quite enough just now. What about Nottingham Forest? Nottingham Forest. Look at that. Nottingham Forest fair odds should be 216.4. Well, they're 250 to 1. It's almost as if I knew that by highlighting them, we would find a 115% bet, EV bet on that coupon, albeit at very, very high odds, very unlikely to happen. It's not going to happen except once every, I don't know, what's that, 2 seasons or so? But I don't mind betting at 250 to 1. So that's how I would save. Let's save another coupon, and I've just saved now the 3rd coupon for myself, and that's all of the teams to have the most goals out of all of the other teams, considering a split in the coupon. I could even look at something completely different. Let's have a look at assists. So if I load assists, it brings all of the players, and I can compare, for example, Bruno Fernandes versus Danny Welbeck versus Zerke, you know, and I can just pick my players. And with those 4 players, considering what we're doing with the draws, the player to have the most, the favourite would be Bruno Fernandes at 2.42. And yeah, as mentioned, we're soon going to bring in touchdowns, tries, and you can compare different players against different attributes if you want to. If you want to compare most goals against a player to have the most assists, go ahead and do that. I don't know why, but there might be an obscure market where that comes up. I mean, I have seen a bet in the past who's going to have the most amount of goals, Everton on one side or Ronaldo on the other side, that kind of thing. So that is a quick overview of how to use the Versus tool at bookiebashing.net.